Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. I am Pete Pardo, your host here at Sea of Tranquility. March 1st. Can you believe it? Got here so damn quick. I'm just like 2020 is just going by incredibly fast. So today we're going to tackle the pretty lengthy discography of Australia's own acdc. All right, the band originally from Scotland, migrated all the way over to Australia, a global phenomenon, all right? A band that just kept building and building and building on their career, doing pretty well for themselves, but after the death of their singer, Bon Scott, they really kind of took off. Brian Johnson comes on board. They released their biggest selling album ever, Back in Black, and there's been no looking back from there. So, for a lot of people, a band that's kind of made sort of the same album over and over again throughout their career. And in a way, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think they ever made a bad album. They have albums that are obviously better than others. There's always going to be that debate as whether you like the Bon Scott era stuff or the Brian Johnson era stuff. I think most of us longtime AC/DC fans can safely say that there's plenty of good in both camps. Maybe the early stuff in the first couple albums with Brian Johnson are the more legendary albums, but a lot of strong albums, okay? Some that I, like, a lot less than some of the others, and I don't listen to as much. I think, like, in the 90s, their albums got really, really samey, but still, good albums, just not, like, great AC/DC albums. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite. I will say this was not an easy list to put together. I think this is one of those bands where, depending on your mood, your ranking of their repertoire could change, right? So I think, today I was like going through it, I've been debating it for a couple days, and I was like, all right, I think I'm going to put it this way, but man, next week that album could go higher, that album could go lower, some of these could shoot way up, or it just all depends, right? And everybody's going to have different opinions on these. So there's going to be some folks that are going to be like, I can't believe you put that album so close to the bottom, it's my favorite, because it happens all the time, right? That's why I said it's okay to like albums differently than me. That's the point of this whole exercise. All right, we all hear these albums differently. The important part is to tell us, me and everybody else here, which are your favorite albums and why, how you would rank them, okay? Instead of pinpointing what everybody else is picking, myself included, tell us which ones you like, all right? Because my picks are not the definitive best of AC/DC. It's just my personal favorites and my least favorites, right? That's it. It doesn't really, it only matters to me. You're not going to change my opinion by telling me my pick is wrong, because it's not wrong. There's no right or wrong answer here. So let's get started from the bottom of the barrel. Again, even at the bottom, some very solid albums. But I'm going to go with Stiff Upper Lip as my probably least favorite. And again, not a bad album. But, with a lot of this kind of later period albums, a lot of songs and just, some cool tunes, but a lot of these kind of latter period albums, they don't really differentiate themselves from each other. And I think that's the issue I've always had with some of the latter day AC/DC, but all fine albums, right? All good, better than what a lot of other bands are doing. The title track is great. House of Jazz, always really dug. Can't Stand Still, some strong tracks on here. It's a solid AC/DC record. Is it one of their best? I don't think so, but that's okay. If you do, perfect. That's good. All right, next up, I'm going to go with Blow Up Your Video. Again, I think this is a little bit more successful. 10 tracks. This one's kind of, neat and tidy. All right, so Heat Seeker, great song. I always like that a lot. That's the way I want to rock and roll. What else you got? Rough Stuff, some Sin for Nothing, Kissin' Dynamite. Of course, there's also a band of that same name. They're big AC/DC fans. So, again, solid record. One of their best? I don't think so, but good. I feel the same way about Ballbreaker. And I love that cover. This is one of my favorite AC/DC covers. It's just a great, great Angus shot. Produced by Rick Rubin. It's funny. There are people who think that Rick Rubin is like one of the greatest, rock producers ever. You know what? Very few. There's a couple of exceptions, right? Slayer, Rain and Blood's one of them. But a lot of the albums that Rick Rubin has worked on, to my ears, seem like they're missing a little balls. And, this album's called Ballbreaker, and this album could sound heavier. I don't know. To my ears, I don't know. But some good tracks on here. Hard as a Rock, Boogeyman, I always thought was kind of fun. The Fuhrer, all right, great song. Hail Caesar, Love Bomb, fun album. Not a great AC/DC album, but a fun album. And this one could rank higher or lower. I don't know. It's like when this came, I listened to this a lot when it came out a couple years ago. Rock or Bust. I don't know if you can see that kind of. The cover changes. There you go, a little bit. So of course, this is the album that they put out after the death of Malcolm Young. This has got Stevie Young on rhythm guitar. Again, a nice short compact album. I saw them on this tour. I like this album. It's a fun, solid AC/DC album. Rock or Bust title track is great. Play Ball was, it was a pretty popular song. Dogs of War, Misadventure, Baptism by Fire, Rock the House. I mean, good album. Solid album. Same could be said for Black Ice. Okay. This, when it came out, was their first studio release in a number of years, and a lot of people were all over this. And I find it a very strong, again, another one of those albums, a lot of tracks, but it's a great sounding album. It's a pretty heavy album, and I can think the songwriting is still there, right? You got, all the cool riffs and just, Brian Johnson screeching up a storm. Very solid record. I think for me, this album has kind of aged pretty well. I mean, it didn't come out that long ago, but I think it ranks up there with, some of their good, solid, like latter period stuff, I think. I don't know. I always kind of dug Black Ice. Fly on the Wall. This one gets a lot of shit from some people, but I like this. Title track is great. Shake Your Foundations, right? Sink the Pink, Danger, Hell or High Water. The guys here, you could say they're kind of on autopilot, right? They're putting out albums of, the way they like to do them. It sells, and, and this is a period where, AC/DC weren't selling like Back in Black or For Those About to Rock kind of numbers worldwide, but, still making money. Still the tours were selling out, You got the Young Brothers and Brian Johnson and, Cliff Williams and company, and, there are various people coming and going on drums. You got Simon Wright here. You got, of course, Phil Rudd and Chris Slade and, blah, blah, blah. But I think, the band have had a formula all these years, and the formula works. That's what it comes down to, whether you love it or don't. That's AC/DC. Flick of the Switch. I think this album has kind of held up fairly well for me. Again, another one of those albums that I think at the time it came out, people were kind of like, that's not as good as the last couple. But, kind of looking back on it, I dig this album. The House is on Fire, Rising Power. The title track is good, Nervous Shakedown. Deep in the Hole, Bedlam by Belgium. I don't know. I think this is a pretty damn strong album, I think. Next up, another, I think, of their stronger albums, released over the last, 30 years. The Razor's Edge. Great title track. Of course, you got Thunderstruck on here. I think this was the album that kind of made people realize it's like, well, AC/DC is starting to put out interesting albums again, right? What else? Got You by the Ball, Shot of Love, Fire Your Guns, Money Talks. This album got a lot of attention for them, right? So I think it holds up pretty well. All right, next up, I'm going to throw their 74 Jailbreak EP in at this point. All right, I was not going to include this, but you know what? It's got 5 tracks. It's got, two, especially for us North America folks or non-Australian people. All these songs, made it on earlier Australian releases, and the whole story. It's like they would release different albums in Australia than the rest of the world. So we got Australian fans are like, oh no, those are not on those albums. It's like, well, you got to understand, a lot of us here are not in Australia, and we have what we have, right? So the tunes that are on here, Jailbreak, You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, Show Business, Soul Stripper, and Baby Please Don't Go. Most of those were featured on those first 2 original Australian releases, which were released differently here and a little later on. So it's all kind of screwed up and sideswiped and changed and rewashed and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, this is a very solid little EP of some, cool, fun, early AC/DC material. Okay. Kind of good to get all those tracks, right? Because you don't want to miss anything, right? All right, next up, and this is coming in, where are we at here? Number 7. I know there's going to be a lot of folks that will probably rank this higher, and that's totally cool. I just never liked this album as much as some of the other ones that they released around it for whatever reason. It's good. It's a very good album. But I'm talking about Dirty Deeds, done dirt cheap. Very solid record. Here in the States, of course, this came out way later. The big Back in Black album was already riding high. Again, it's definitely a upper echelon Bon Scott era album. Not one of my favorites. I like others better, but you got Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap on here. You got Big Balls, Problem Child, right? Ride On, Squealer, a bunch of other good tunes. It's a good album, very good album, I might say. But I happen to like the other albums better. It's just the way it is. If it's one of your favorites, that's perfectly okay. Put it on your list at the top. Doesn't have to be on mine. Next up, for those about to rock, We Salute You. Yeah, I was huge into this when this came out. But, over the years, not quite as good as its predecessor. Probably not even close, right? But still a very solid AC/DC record. The title track, obviously great. I Put the Finger on You. Solid tune. Let's Get It Up. I always dug quite a bit. Inject the Venom. Evil Walk's kind of cool. Spellbound. Breaking the Rules. COD. Some solid tracks. I think the first half of the CD, the first side of the vinyl, original vinyl, definitely the stronger of the two, but still a very, very solid Brian Johnson era record there. High Voltage, coming in next at number 5. All right, you got some drop dead classics on here, right? The Long Way to the Top, If You Want to Rock and Roll, The Jack, Live Wire, right? What else? TNT with Dynamite, She's Got Balls. The title track, High Voltage, rock and roll. Great album. Amazing how early in their career they knew what that formula was going to be. They had their shit together, and no other band ever sounded like these guys. Very much to their credit. All right, next up, I'm going to go with their absolute blockbuster coming in at number 4, Back in Black. Yeah, it could rank higher, but I just, if you would have asked me this 30 years ago, this would have been my number 1. But I have really grown to appreciate some of the other Bon Scott albums in recent years. But this is still a tremendous record. One of those ones that if you were like me, I played this to death back in the day when it came out, 1980, right? So 80 into 80, 81, 82, I was listening to this all the time. So don't reach for it as much anymore, but it's still incredible, all right? Incredible production. This is probably one of the best-selling heavy albums of all time, but best-sounding heavy albums of all time, right? You got Mutt Lange on the production twiddler knobs here. Robert John Mutt Lange. Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill. Title track, Giving the Dog a Bone. What Do You Do for Money, Honey? Right? What else? Shake a Leg, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise, Pollution, Have a Drink on Me, and of course the song I Never Need to Hear Again, You Shook Me All Night Long. But yeah. Legendary classic for a reason, folks. All right, coming in at number 3, the order of these 3 could change at any given day, but I'm going to go with Powerage at number 3. I almost ranked this higher because this is a just kick-ass album. You got Rock and Roll Damnation, kicking it all down. You got My Beloved Riff Raff and Sin City. All right, what else? Down Payment Blues, Kicked in the Teeth, Up to My Neck in You, Gone Shooting. Every song top to bottom, I'm not going to mention them all. It's just killer. I even like the production on this a lot. It's just a great kick-ass hard rock album. Coming in at number 2, all right. The last album was Bon, Highway to Hell. Thought I was going to give it all away wearing the Highway to Hell shirt, right, folks? Not today. Title track, legendary. Girls Got Rhythm. This is a cranking, fast-paced album. Touch Too Much, one of my favorite AC/DC songs. All right. I've always thought that kind of that formula that they started here, you hear kind of what they were doing with Mutt was doing with Def Leppard just a short time afterwards, right? Touch Too Much. What else? Shot Down in Flames, If You Want Blood, You've Got It, Walk All Over You, The Night Prowler. Can mention them all. They're all great. Killer album. Great album cover too. Which of course leads me to my favorite, at least for today anyway. I dig this album a lot. Let There Be Rock. Again, another album that's just got some stone cold AC/DC classics on it. Dog Eat Dog, title track Let There Be Rock is amazing. As my friend Jeff Young would say, Amaze Balls, Bad Boy Boogie, got Problem Child on here also, and shows up on another one. Overdose, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, and of course another one of my personal favorites, Whole Lotta Rosie, right? So just a killer album. There's my man Angus on the back, kicking ass and taking names. So, I'm sure that everybody's ranking list is going to be different with all these albums, and got so many people who prefer the Bon Scott era. You got a lot of people who owe allegiance to the Brian Johnson era. A lot of people like me like both, right? And appreciate both and listen to both. So whatever, that's my ranking for today. Yours does not have to agree. In fact, I'd urge you not to agree, because I know that you guys hear these albums differently than me, right? I guarantee it. So let us know your favorites. Rank them all in the order. Give us your top 5, your top 10, right? What are your least favorites too? And tell us why, right? That's the whole important. Get the conversation going. Tell us why you like what you like or don't like what you like, all right? That's the key. So let's run down the list again. Coming in at number 1, Let There Be Rock. Coming in at number 2, Highway to Hell. Coming in at number 3, Powerage. And if I lose track of the count, don't sue me here. Coming in at number 4, Back in Black. Coming in at number 5, High Voltage Rock and Roll. Coming in at number 6, so already I'm losing track. Yep, for those about to rock, we salute you. Coming in at number 7, Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. Coming in at number 8, 74, Jailbreak. Coming in at number 9, The Razor's Edge. Coming in at number 10, Flick of the Switch. Coming in at number 11, Fly on the Wall. Coming in at number 12, Black Ice. Coming in at number 13, Rock or Bust. Coming in at number 14, Ballbreaker. Number 15, Blow Up Your Video. And number 16, Stiff Upper Lip. There you have it. AC/DC ranking the studio albums. Just the studio albums, not the live albums, not the compilations, not the soundtracks. Just the studio albums of all new material in one EP. All right. So this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube all the damn time. What do we got coming up? Next, momentarily, ranking the studio albums of U.S. thrash, power metal, progressive metal act Nevermore. Don't want to miss it. If you're a metal fan, I know you love Nevermore. So we'll see you guys real soon. Coming up this week, all sorts of stuff. The Heart ranking the studio albums. Doobie Brothers ranking the studio albums. Probably got some new product showcases. Tomorrow or Tuesday, I'm going to do a listening room show. All right. Jeff Young is going to be coming on the show this week. Jeff Young, former guitar shredder from Megadeth and solo artist. He is going to come on the show, and we are going to each talk about our top 10 songs from Cheap Trick. Don't want to miss that either. So that's all coming up. Talked to Mike Antonelli yesterday. He and I are still going to be doing that Miles Davis top albums by decade show. We're going to hopefully try to do it this coming weekend, if not the following weekend. So that's coming too for all you jazz fans and jazz fusion fans out there. So all sorts of stuff. Ranking the studio albums from Judas Priest, ranking the studio albums from Iron Maiden, for all you many folks who have been asking for that. That's coming too. I got a lot of people asking for a Kiss show on ranking the studio albums. So here's the deal with Kiss, guys. I'm a big Kiss fan, but I mainly like the 70s stuff in the very early 80s. I'm not a big fan of most of the 80s and 90s and further material. I kind of like the last couple that they've released. They're okay. So, I'm trying to figure out how to satisfy all these people asking for Kiss. So what I may do is I may just do a ranking the studio albums from like the first album through like Creatures of the Night, because really that's the stuff that I kind of dig. I obviously love the 70s stuff a lot, So what I may do is I may just do like the makeup years or something like that. That's probably what I'm going to do, is ranking the Kiss albums, the makeup years, and I'll include the solo albums in there as well. So that's probably what I'm going to do. For those of you who love the 80s non-makeup stuff and are like, oh, but I love that stuff. Sorry, I don't, and I really don't own most of that. So you either get no Kiss or you get the Kiss that I just suggested, right? So that's probably what it's going to be. So other than that, infinite number of shows that I'm planning on doing. I also want to do a ranking the studio albums from Armored Saint. Okay. I'm going to be doing Ranking the Studio albums also of Symphony X fairly soon, Camel fairly soon. I want to do Van de Graaff Generator fairly soon. Dream Theater is also coming up soon. My brother's going to guest on that show, so we're going to be doing that. So as you can see, tons of stuff in the works. Tons of stuff. I've got so much stuff that I want to cover. So thanks for the suggestion, guys. But most of the stuff you're suggesting, I've already got in the works. And if you don't, again, I can't respond to every request. I just can't. I'm not a jukebox, guys. So, but if I have most of or all of a discography, and I'm very familiar with the band, and I have the stuff, I will do it. Some of you guys are asking me to cover bands that I, either don't have anything by, or I'm just not really that familiar with. And, don't take it personal. It's like, I'm not going to talk about stuff that I don't know anything about. All right. It's just the way it is. So, if you have a favorite band that I'm not really into and on their catalog, sorry, I'm not going to cover it. All right. Just the way it is. And there's some bands that, I just may only have a couple releases of, and they have a lengthy discography. Can't very well talk about them if you don't own all the stuff, right? If you're not familiar with all the stuff, right? So that's the way it is. Visit us on the web at www.catranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. We'll see you momentarily with some Nevermore. Take care, guys.